The emotional toll from a disaster can sometimes be more devastating than the loss or damage of personal property. This morning we have psychotherapist Brittany Neece. She is from the Austin Center for Grief and Loss. Talk a little more about what we can do in order to prepare for these kind of situations. Good morning, Brittany. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Amanda.
First, let's talk about what people are going through at this point. If you can at all paint that picture for us, because we're not walking in their shoes, but we want to get an idea.
Right. So I think most people don't have any real idea of what this is like until, unfortunately, it happens. You can really have almost an identity crisis when this happens. Everything that you've owned, that you've known, not just material items, but sentimental items that can be completely destroyed and damaged, can have such an emotional impact on just stability for day-to-day life. So it's very common for someone to feel almost this lack of identity, lack of stability, not sure what to do next. It can be a very difficult time.
If we have someone watching right now who is going through this situation right now, what's your recommendation?
Well, I would say that definitely to consider whether or not they're having a traumatic reaction to it. It's very common at first to feel disoriented, to have difficulty sleeping perhaps, changing in eating patterns, things like that, especially if that prolongs, or just if they're having a lot of emotional distress. It can be really important to get some help, talk to a counselor who can address this. There's a lot of times too where I think that we end up saying things like, well, at least, no one was killed, at least, this or that. And I think sometimes, while that may very well be true, it might actually be taking away from that person's experience, leaving them to feel like they should be more grateful or optimistic, when oftentimes that's just not where they're at. They're really consumed around what has been lost, and that's very normal and appropriate. So I think it's helpful for us to realize that and talk to people from that level of just showing support around how their life has changed at this
beyond
point.
Showing support and acknowledging that change in those who are going through this, is there anything else that we can do to help? Well,
especially if you're maybe an observer, you're watching the news, it hasn't impacted you directly, but doing anything, doing something that can mean donating your time, donating supplies. It can mean even, sending thoughts and prayers to those families, but just taking some level of action can really make a difference for those who are just, really wanting to help and maybe not sure exactly how to do that. There's a lot of ways that, especially people can look online and find ways they can help with donations.
We've got some advice here on our screen. Find time for activities you enjoy, take one thing at a time, do something positive, avoid drugs and excessive drinking, ask for help when you need it. Coping mechanisms.
Right, absolutely. In a lot of cases, anything that you can do that somewhat feels normal, any kind of activities that you would normally do, can be very helpful to create some kind of stability during a situation where nothing is stable anymore. For some people that might be work, for some people that might mean even just getting up out of bed and having the same kind of routine every day.
Going for a walk in case you are somebody who exercises in the morning?
Yes, absolutely. So taking care of your basic needs as well, sleep, making sure you're eating well, getting exercise, socializing. Right. Those things can all help.
Yeah, all creating stability, again, going back to that.
Absolutely.
Brittany, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.